Hey everybody, I'm Kyle with Dirt Bike Channel. Today I'm going to start a new video series called Would You Rather. Stick around. So the preface for this video is that I was actually just in the shower this morning and I had this thing pop into my head like, would you rather this or would you rather that? My kids will sometimes ask me, especially my 15-year-old daughter will ask me, Dad, would you rather this or would you rather that? And it got me thinking about this bike. This Sherco 300 SEF Factory is a bike that I got to ride back to back with the 2020 Yamaha YZ250FX just about a week and a half ago. And so kind of jumping on and off the bikes made me think about which one I'd want, because a couple of the guys that were with me were like, hey Kyle, if you had to pick one of them, which one would you pick? And the answer on this bike versus the Yamaha is actually kind of complicated. And so I want to kick this whole video series off, and I'll be doing multiple videos like this on other bikes, I think, of would you rather? Would you rather have this bike or would you rather have that bike? So here we go. Would you rather? Would you rather ride the Sherco 300 SEF Factory or the Yamaha YZ250FX? Well, that actually depends on where we're riding. If we're gonna ride in mountainous terrain, I'm gonna have a different answer than I would have in desert terrain. Or you can kind of think of it as like mountainous is more tight single track or more tight woods or an area where there's less traction, you're changing directions faster. If you're in that, like a typical mountain single track environment, I'd actually take the Sherco. The Sherco has some things about it that are actually gonna make it better suited and has definitely proven to me to be better suited for some of that slower, more technical single track riding. The first thing that I think makes this the better option for more technical single track riding is actually how quick the bike can turn. This bike feels very, very nimble and very agile, and the way that everything is set up with the front end and the way that the chassis works, this bike is probably the quickest turning four-stroke that I have ever ridden. It is so very good, and it just allows you to change directions and dodge things. I'm not talking about cornering, I'm talking about just changing directions really quick and dodging rocks or roots or things like that. The Sherco is phenomenal for that. The second reason I think that this bike, the Sherco, would be better in the mountain stuff and some of the rockier stuff is the forks, at least when it comes factory, it's actually valved softer than the Yamaha. So they both use Kayaba SSS suspension on your forks, but they're not valved the same. The Sherco has a softer valving which absorbs things a little bit better. This fork actually handles the chop and the nasty stuff better than the Yamaha does, so I would take this in the mountain single track or the nasty stuff. Third reason I take the Sherco over the Yamaha in the mountain stuff is because this motor is more of a little bit of a gentle machine. So yes, it's a bigger displacement, but it just feels a little bit more tamed down. And that helps itself, that alludes to getting better traction on this bike, and it isn't quite such a fire-breathing dragon. Yes, this bike moves you forward at a very quick pace, but it doesn't overpower you and it doesn't overpower the terrain. And I feel like if it's more technical and it's more of that tight environment, I think this 300 cc motor on the Sherco is actually a little bit better suited to push you through the rocky stuff and the single track stuff, especially where traction is limited. The last thing I'd say about riding in mountain single track, why I would take the Sherco, is it's just got a more friendly, forgiving disposition. I know that isn't like really an X's and O's thing, it's just a feeling thing that I have when I'm on this bike compared to the Yamaha, which I've ridden extensively and got to ride last week or week and a half ago. This one's just a little bit more forgiving, and I think that is gonna play itself out better for the mountain type single track. So now let's get into the desert riding, or the more fast open riding, faster terrain, higher speeds. I definitely 100% take the Yamaha YZ250FX. I'm specifically speaking of that 2020 model, which I loved and fell in love with. That bike would definitely be my choice if the speeds are higher. So why is the Yamaha my choice if the speeds are higher? It all really comes down, it boils down to the foundation of that chassis. The bike, the chassis, the frame on that Yamaha YZ250FX is probably the most stable platform that I have ridden to date. That thing just feels like you are on rails, and it makes you feel like a hero. It just eats whoops for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. I mean, it's just absolutely great. The platform of that bike, with the way the foot pegs are, the way the frame interacts with you, the way that everything works, the rider cockpit, it is just so stable. It is so balanced, and it gives you so much confidence when the speeds are higher. Second reason why I would take the Yamaha in the faster, more open desert type terrain is the forks are valved a little bit better for that. Those forks are money. You get in second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and that bike has probably been the most fun bike in those situations that I have ever ridden. It just is a dream. The fork never really does anything funny, and when you're moving faster like that, it just has the great way to absorb all that stuff, the whoops, the bumps, the things like that. When you're cooking along faster, that Yamaha fork is pretty amazing. The third reason why I would take the Yamaha over the Sherco if we're riding out in the faster flowing stuff is that motor. That 250 motor, it just is so snappy and so lively. It makes the bike stand at attention. It feels like when you're ripping around, like you can just like twist the throttle and like you can jump the front wheel over to like this rut or that rut or make it float over this thing. Like the Yamaha, when you pull the throttle, the first thing that happens on the Yamaha is it's directly connected to your like lips and your cheekbones, because you get an instant smile on your face, and it's like it's just really so connected to the rear tire. You just jump over things. You know, you hit that throttle and it goes boom, it just goes leaping over things, which is what you want when the speeds are higher. On the Sherco, you hit the throttle and it kind of goes through something. On the Yamaha, it like pops over something. That motor, it's almost difficult to describe. It's impossible to describe how snappy and lively that YZ250FX motor is, and that's my third reason why I would take that thing if I was riding faster, more open stuff. The fourth reason I take the Yamaha in the faster stuff is it just gives me so much confidence. I cannot tell you how much confidence I have coming into corners, going out of corners, going off small jumps, going off drops, going through whoops. It just like breeds confidence in you, and that's what you want if the speeds are higher. You don't want to have to be worrying about what the bike is doing, what the rear end is going to do, what the front end is going to do. You just want to be attacking the trail, and things are moving at you so fast in the higher speeds, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. You want that confidence, and the YZ250X gave me that confidence. So would I rather have it in the desert? Absolutely. The last reason I would give for why I would rather have the Yamaha in the faster stuff is just because it seems to like to be pushed hard. It seems to reward you for pushing the bike hard and makes you just want to go faster and faster. The bike is just begging you to go faster. It's begging you to go faster. And I'm not saying that the Sherco isn't begging you to go faster either. I'm just saying that there is some other feeling that I get when I'm on the Yamaha that gives me more confidence to push it harder and to go further in that type of scenario. So those are my reasons. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's really fun to make. If you have ideas for other bikes that I should do on a would you rather type video series, let me know down in the comments or email me, kyle@dirtbikechannel.com, and I can see if I can put together a video for it. Both of these bikes are amazing. I love this bike for certain things, and I love the Yamaha for certain other things. This bike is going to be a sweepstakes bike, so if you're watching this video between October 15th and December 15th of 2020, you can go to my website, dirtbikechannel.com, and get entered to win this bike and 2 other bikes. I'll be giving away 3 bikes this year right before Christmas, so go to my website, dirtbikechannel.com, to get entered. That's what I do with these bikes. I buy them, I review them, and I turn around and I give them to you guys, and we perpetuate this cycle over and over. That's what we're doing here. Another great way to support Dirt Bike Channel is to use my links down in the video description for Rocky Mountain ATV, Motorsport, Amazon. Those are some really great ways to support Dirt Bike Channel when you go to buy parts for your bikes, either tires or gear or helmets or whatever, boots. It supports me and it doesn't cost you a dime, so that would be a good way to support Dirt Bike Channel. Other than that, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you hit the notification bell icon so you get notified when these videos come out. And until next time, leave a single track. Thanks.